Alrighty, thank you everyone for joining Harvard Extension School for our coffee chat, all about liberal arts programs at Harvard Extension School. We're thrilled to have you here to join us, and we have a great session in store. My name is Jacqueline Brinkhouse, and I will be your coffee chat moderator for today. Before we start, we have a few housekeeping items just to note for this session. A recording of this webinar will be sent to the email you used to register. A recording will also be listed on the event webpage you registered and on our Harvard Extension School YouTube channel. Please utilize the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen to submit your questions to our liberal arts staff, students, and alumni. Our team has also compiled your pre-submitted questions when you registered, and we will elevate any questions from the Q&A to our panelists. Please note that we will not be utilizing the raise hand feature during the session today. So to get in contact with us, please use that Q&A feature. Today, we have a few agenda items. First, we'll start with Dr. Stephen Shoemaker, our Director of Liberal Arts degree programs here at Harvard Extension School, who will review the Harvard Extension School Advantage. Then we'll review our program offerings. We will then discuss program benefits and outcomes and conclude with a live Q&A session with Dr. Shoemaker, an academic advisor, an admissions advisor, students, and alumni. I'd also like to note that members of our enrollment services team are here answering your questions in the Q&A feature. So any questions, please put them in that feature. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Stephen Shoemaker. Welcome, Dr. Shoemaker.
Thank you, Jacqueline. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm Stephen Shoemaker, Director of Liberal Arts at the Extension School. This means I'm responsible for program design, for course selection in anthropology, English, government, history, international relations, psychology, and religion. I also teach in the Extension School. I teach a capstone course each year, which may be relevant to some of you in the future. And today I'll talk about the capstone experience. And I also serve as a thesis director each year for at least one student, sometimes more. So I'll be able to address some of your questions about the capstone versus thesis options, which are the ways that you have the ability to meet your final degree requirement. At Harvard Extension School, we have a flexible design, and that means that you can come and you can take a course with us. If the course meets your expectations and it's accomplishing goals that seem important to you, you can move forward to a certificate as an intermediate step in working within the design of our programs, or you can pursue a degree. And it's not a binary choice between certificates and degrees. In fact, we have structured the programs in such a way so that the certificate, should you choose that option, and it is not mandatory that you do so, but should that be something you see desirable, you can use the certificate to step toward the degree. It's not an either-or choice. It's a choice that is stackable. You build one upon the other. We really emphasize the ability for our students to study part-time. Most of our courses are offered in the evening. We have a degree program, should you desire to pursue that pathway, that allows you to determine the pace of how many classes you're taking at once, according to the other demands you may be facing in your life. So our academic pathways are intentionally diverse. Our master's degree programs in liberal arts are available in the 7 fields that you see represented here. The way that we structure our coursework is that you will be doing advanced work in your designated field of study, and you will also have the opportunity as a liberal arts student to interact with other disciplines or courses that you feel may be relevant to your own path of study. In some master's degree programs, when you enter the program, the curriculum is handed to you pre-formed on a platter. And that is not the approach that we take. We allow you to select the field courses that are most engaging to you. We allow you to select a seminar that aligns with your interests, either subject-wise or methodological. And we offer the opportunity for you to pick some elective coursework. So something that may be beyond the parameters of the subject that we would expect you to be interested in, but you have intellectual curiosity, or given the research interests you have as an anthropology student, there's actually a history course or a religion course that would be of interest to you. And we structured a program that is flexible in that way quite deliberately. So in our degree programs, you really have an opportunity to interact with superb expert faculty. A significant portion of our liberal arts faculty at Harvard Extension School are drawn from Harvard's Faculty of Arts and Sciences, as well as other graduate schools at the university. So the opportunity for you to be an active learner working with top-notch faculty members is really a significant component of our program. In sub-degree programs that you may be investigating, it may be more of a passive approach where you view pre-recorded lectures and interact with those in a passive way. You're just receiving what has been recorded, whereas our program design is deliberately interactive. We have a number of seminar courses, the pro seminar. These are courses that are capped at 19 students, so the faculty member will know you, will know your name, will be interacting directly with you each week, and that is really an important part of our pedagogical philosophy, emphasizing interactive learning. Our degree programs are flexible. As I said before, you can either start with the course or with the certificate or pursue a degree program. You don't come in and commit yourself instantly right as you enter the door in your first class to a full trajectory. You can see what makes sense for you and choose the classes that fit your your schedule. In terms of our accessibility, we emphasize what we call an earn your way in admission. So in many master's programs, there will be an admission that happens before you actually start coursework, an assessment of test scores or previous academic grades that you may have from an undergraduate degree. Our philosophy is kind of meet you where you are at this time. So we seek to give you an opportunity to demonstrate your capabilities and your work ethic through your first 3 courses taken with us, which are the way that you establish a satisfactory B-level grade standard, and you can then apply for admission to a degree program if that is your goal. So I've made reference to this idea of stackability. Stackability simply means that as you begin, your first foray is to take a course or 2, and if you wish to build that toward a certificate, that is something that is accomplished typically with 4 courses. Pardon me, and you have to pick specific courses to earn a certificate. You don't just decide independently, well, these 4 classes look interesting to me. Rather, you'll see that we have specific certificates that are structured based on courses that relate to a particular theme. And then the certificate, should you seek to move beyond that, provides foundational work for the degree. The ALM requires 12 courses as opposed to the 4 in the certificate. So it just seemed a good opportunity for students who kind of wanted to get their feet wet to test the proverbial waters by pursuing a certificate. And some people that meets their needs. For others, it has whet their appetite for the pursuit of the degree itself. Our liberal arts certificates, they exist here for each of the fields in liberal arts. The way that the certificates are listed, and there's a link that we can provide you to a certificate homepage. For liberal arts, the most prominent fields, and they're scattered throughout some of the listings on the page that we'll make the link available for, but under global studies, we've got an international relations graduate certificate, an international security certificate, a nuclear deterrence graduate certificate, and a religions of the world certificate. And then under social sciences and cultural studies, we have a certificate in American literature and culture, a certificate in equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging in leadership, health and society certificate, one on philosophy and ethics. And philosophy and ethics is another certificate. Religion and society is a certificate that is available, as well as religions of the world. And then also a social justice certificate. So these various certificates are, again, a stepping stone toward the opportunity to engage at a deeper level than a class as a precursor potentially to a degree, but the degree is not a required subsequent action on your part, but the certificate is stackable in a sense that none of the effort there is wasted should you decide that you wish to pursue a degree. So earn your way in admission. I've already talked about this just briefly. This is an unusual approach in graduate education, but one that we feel deliberately empowers the student to, through merit, demonstrate their ability to engage in substantive academic enterprise rather than simply listing before us a past academic performance or interaction with graduate level testing, standardized exams. The taking of 2 to 3 courses, and these are specific courses that you need to interact with that vary according to the particular subject that you're interested in studying. So be sure that you look at our website specifically at the field of study that you're considering pursuit, so that you will understand what the courses are that are relevant for meeting admission requirements in your field. And I'll also suggest at this time that as you're browsing courses in our course catalog, which is something that all potential students or present students do, when you're browsing courses, it's important to set the search mechanism for your particular field of study. And that way, courses will be flagged that meet requirements that are relevant to your field of study, rather than you just browsing blindly. You wouldn't be aware of what courses meet or do not meet requirements in your field. So always make sure that you look down to the bottom of the left bar and search for courses that are relevant to your field in specific ways. The on-campus experience. So this is a new enterprise this year, the engaging the scholarly conversation. This is a way to meet your residency requirement through either one of 2 forms, either attending a sequence of 2 weekends, one in the fall and one in the spring, or through a 3-week on-campus experience in the summer. Both courses meet the residency requirement. Both deal with the same subject matter. So what I'm saying is you don't take the 2 weekends and then decide, oh, I also want to take the summer. It's the same class. It's just formatted in a 3-week version rather than the 2 long weekends. The goal of the on-campus experience is, 1, to make you feel connected to your peers, to the program, to the campus, to the university. But also the very nature of the material that is studied that weekend is interactive. There are group projects, you're having a lot of dialogue and interaction with your instructor, with your peers, that simply wouldn't work in the format of an online design. And these courses are designed to train you in the scholarly interaction with secondary literature in your field. So how do you read the material that scholars working in your field are writing? How do you read critically? How do you engage the ideas? How do you analyze what they're doing? How do you align the work being done by one scholar and compare that to what's being done by other scholars of the larger conversation that you're joining? These are not skills that are intuitive or that we assume students bring to the table, but rather this course is designed to train you in reading scholarly literature as a graduate student should read. And that is a skill that will be relevant not only for the courses that you take subsequently, but also for the thesis or capstone experience that you'll have as your final degree requirement. So as you complete your courses and you are seeking that ALM degree, there's one of two ways that you can meet the final degree requirement. You can either work on a thesis, which is independent research, working one-on-one with the thesis director, who is a member of the Harvard faculty. This is structured in a way that is largely working on your own, and also you have a voice in selecting your own topic. The other option is a capstone, which is more resembling a course in that it will meet each week, and there are assignments that will be due each week on your particular project that you'll be working on. And you'll be working on a project that fits within a course theme, which is very different from the thesis, where you have selected a topic that is one that is more singular in nature. So as you're taking courses, you can think about and meet with your advisors to contemplate which of these options is the best one for you. We really go out of our way to make sure that we offer you support and advising throughout your experience, either as a course taker, as a certificate student, or as a student pursuing a degree. We have structured the ability to engage with guidance, either through enrollment services, admissions, or your academic advisors, and ultimately your research advisor. You have access to the full range of what Harvard University has to offer to support its students as a Harvard Extension student, and you do indeed become a member of the Harvard community. And we have events that you are invited to participate in on campus, including convocation and most notably commencement. Jacqueline, we'll turn it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Shoemaker. That was super insightful, and I'm sure answering a lot of the questions we're seeing in the Q&A. So thank you so much. I would now like to introduce our staff, student, and alumni panel who will be joining us for the Q&A. So first, I'd like to introduce Daniel Mungin, an ALM academic advisor. Daniel, if you could tell us a bit more about yourself and what an academic advisor does at Harvard Extension School.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I'm happy to. As Jacqueline said, my name is Daniel Mungin. I am an academic advisor with students in the graduate programs at Harvard Extension School in the fields of government, history, and international relations. I'm coming to you today from Cambridge, Massachusetts. I'm at Harvard. Basically, the role of the academic advisor, the way that I see it, is to assist students achieve their academic goals while they juggle the demands, of an already full life. Some of the things that I assist with are degree planning. I act as a sounding board in terms of the, what sort of things you're considering, whether that be capstone or thesis. I clarify some of the extension school policies, and I hopefully do my best to act as an overall anxiety reducer.
Perfect. Thank you, Daniel. And we hear from so many students how valuable academic advisors are, and they feel like when they're walking across the stage at commencement, they're walking across the stage with a community of resources behind them. So thank you for being here, and thank you for all you do for our community. Next, I'd like to invite Ashley Wilcox to share a bit more about what you do on campus.
Hi all, my name is Ashley Wilcox. I'm a pre-degree and admissions advisor joining you also from Harvard today. Thank you all for joining us. I assist students with determining their eligibility for admission, as well as helping make sure they're on the right track to gain admission. I also handle application processing. My office can advise you via email or virtual appointments, and also through virtual office hours. So once again, thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, Ashley. And again, another great resource we have for you from the beginning of your time here at Extension all the way through the end. So thank you, Ashley, for being here. Next, I'd like to invite one of our first alumni, Jose. Could you tell us a bit more about who you are, what your degree program was, and quickly what your favorite part of Harvard Extension School was?
Yeah, sure. I'm Jose de Haro. I'm currently in Washington, D.C. at the moment. I changed jobs actually on my last year before getting my ALM in a concentration of international relations. Now I work for the International Monetary Fund. I handle communications here. And basically, I think that the best part of Harvard Extension is that it allowed me to get ahead and give a next step in my career, but also all the friendships that I made through all the different courses. Because I think that even if most of the program was virtual, it allows to a lot of do personal connections with a lot of my former fellow students.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jose. Love to hear, starting off strong with the connections you make, both while you're here and afterwards. So that's great to hear. Thank you. Miriam, next, if you could tell us a bit more about your experience here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miriam. I graduated psychology in actually 22. Right now, I'm talking to you from New York City. My experience is beyond amazing, just because Harvard Extension School, first of all, gave me an opportunity to start business in a completely new industry for me. And it gave me a lot of support and connection to the whole Harvard community, including other institutions like Harvard Innovation Lab, for example. I'm really grateful for this experience.
Thank you, Miriam. And we'll definitely touch on the Harvard Innovation Lab a little bit later in our Q&A. Would love to hear more about that. So thank you. Next, we'll have Ian. Ian, you're a current student, and you can tell us a little bit more about that. If you'd like to turn your video on and join us.
Hey, sure. So I'm Ian Ragsdale, and I am a master's student in the English program. I live in Austin, Texas. And one of the things I really like about this program, Dr. Shoemaker talked about the stellar faculty. Jose mentioned the students, and for me, my fellow students really make this program so special. Everyone here is really curious. Everyone here is really committed and intellectually ambitious. And so I'm constantly challenged to be better. I'm constantly introduced to new ideas. Everyone has such interesting capstone projects or thesis projects that they are working on, and I really love to learn about those. I also this semester got to do my first active learning weekend on campus, so got to meet the students, and you see people come from all walks of life, have some really surprising backgrounds and really great conversations that we have in person and online.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ian. And we'll definitely love to hear more about those experiences, both in person and online, a little bit later in the Q&A. So thank you. Next up, Lupita, if you could tell us a bit more about your experience. Oh, I think you might be on mute, Lupita.
Sorry about that. Thank you, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I am very grateful for my Harvard Extension experience. I am a proud alumnus of the psychology master's program, which just catapulted my corporate wellness career that I've had for now over a decade. And one of my favorite things is also, I'm going to say the same thing that Miriam said and Ian said, it's really the people and the guidance from our professors, which are world-renowned professors. They've all done excellent work in their fields, but also just having connections and being supported.
Oh, Lupita, I think you might have cut out briefly. We'll get back to you during the Q&A. We'd love to hear more of your story. Awesome. Okay. Next up, if we could have Donald Parker, and Lupita, we'll get back to you during that Q&A session.
Yes. Good morning. So I'm Don Parker, and I'm took full advantage of what Dr. Shoemaker talked about relative to stackability, in that I know this is a graduate discussion, I did an ALB in concentrated in social science with a field of study in government. I then did a graduate certificate in social justice and an ALM in government, which I finished in 2021. And I stay connected to the institution by being a teaching assistant on a pre-capstone capstone sequence in public policy. I'm getting the sense this is going to be a little bit redundant, but I'll say the two things that I really appreciate about the the experience. One is I love to learn, and I find all of the Harvard Extension students that I have come across share that. And if you're going to learn, you might as well learn at the highest level possible. And that's what the Extension School did for me. And two, it's the people, the relationships that I build with people like Jose or people like Daniel, who are like-minded students of the world, very curious, very insightful. And I frankly stay connected years later to people that I've taken classes with across my journey through the Extension School. So I really appreciate the high-level learning, and I appreciate the relationships that I built throughout the program.
Thanks so much, Don. And thank you, for emphasizing what everyone else was saying too. It's marrying both this global, diverse community of staff, faculty, peers, and this academic excellence and this ability to, have pragmatic learning theory in the classroom, and really just feeling supported both while you're at the Extension School and afterwards. So thank you all so much for sharing a little bit about your story with us. And now, before we hop into the Q&A, if anyone has their coffee cup, we'll raise those up to the screen just in honor of our coffee chat. Awesome. All right. Thank you. Kicking that off. So the first question for our panel is going to be for Dr. Shoemaker. How many classes do students typically take a semester, and how long do students have to complete their degree?
So there is no one size fits all per the design of our program in terms of how many classes students can take in a given term. It depends on your work responsibilities, your home life responsibilities. Maybe there'll be some terms where 2 classes work for you. Other times there'll be no ability to take a class. You need to take a semester break, and you come back, you take 1 course the following semester. You can come for summer. We design it specifically so that there's a high degree of flexibility. We do have the 5-year time frame, which the website goes into detail on that. So we don't want this to drag out forever. But within those 5 years, you do have the ability to self-regulate the number of courses that you're taking.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Shoemaker. And Daniel, could you speak a bit more to maybe a conversation you would have with the student about figuring out how many courses to take, how to balance, taking on a graduate degree or certificate with, balancing life responsibilities? What's some advice you typically give your students along those lines?
Absolutely. I'll echo what Dr. Shoemaker said in terms of there's not really a one size fits all type of approach. The main thing that I say to my students, please don't take on more than you can handle. There are some folks that are in a rush to get through the program, and maybe that's for career reasons, or maybe they just want to be done a little bit faster. I always advise students, please work within your schedule, take your time. Because it's not just it's an experience. This is a learning experience, and we want folks to be able to enjoy that experience. So, typically when a student comes to me, one thing I might have heard in the past was, Daniel, I can only do 1 class a semester. Is that too little? No, absolutely not. Again, you work within the schedule that you have. What is going to get you to achieve your degree?
Perfect. Thank you, Daniel. And Ian, so you're currently a student. Could you speak a bit more about how you balance your coursework with other life responsibilities?
Sure. Yeah. So I have a full-time job. I have a family. I like to pick a variety of courses that have different demands on my time and different amounts of flexibility. So if I want to, like this semester, I had a little bit of a higher workload, but some of my courses had specific meeting times, like we all met synchronously, and other courses were really on demand. And so I was able to use that on-demand time that I could take a class at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night, and then it was really easy to work into my schedule. Other ones, like I needed to show up at 5 p.m., every Wednesday, something like that. So usually I try to work with the different modalities that are offered. And all of them have different like rewards from, meeting in person. You can maybe get more feedback about how you are arguing with sources, or just like presenting in class and collaborating with other students. When you work asynchronously, you can spend more time thinking about a topic and writing responses on discussion boards, and kind of experiencing scholarship through that way.
Perfect. Thank you, Ian. And yeah, I think you highlighted some great new features we have too, is, you can come to campus for courses. We have asynchronous, synchronous courses. So we've really tried to design our classes and our model around, the various needs of our students. So thank you for that, Ian. And Lupita, if you could tell us a bit more about how the flexibility at Harvard Extension School helped you complete your degree. And I know you got cut off a bit earlier, so if you want to share a bit more about your story, feel free to add some of that information as well.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Yeah, so the flexibility at Harvard is one of a kind. I will turn to my let me turn my video off just so that I'm a little bit more clear.
Okay.
Yeah, so the flexibility at Harvard is exceptional because, like Ian said, people are coming from various backgrounds. And for me, I was coming from, okay, yes, it was COVID, and I think a lot of us were working from home, but I still have, corporate clients to take care of. And, at one point I was in a closet in San Francisco taking my, my psychology courses, my neurobiology courses, and my husband was outside, working on his engineering stuff. So it was just kind of like, how are we going to make this work? So it's amazing that we had that extra flexibility, that we could log in if it was on demand, and we could, take those classes. And then also, after COVID was over and we had the chance to come on campus, you also have the opportunity to do that. So, no other organization that I know of, because I did extensive research on these types of programs, gave you that hybrid access and gave you that flexibility with the access to professors like Harvard does. We could go to basically any school at Harvard and ask for support, and I was never told no, right? So being part of the Harvard Innovation Lab was also incredibly uplifting and supportive for me. And it made me, just catapult my entrepreneurship journey even more, to become a second-time founder as well. So I think there's a lot of, it's not just flexibility in time, it's flexibility in resources, it's flexibility and all that other stuff that sometimes goes undermined. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lupita. And I think you hit on a great point that there's so much flexibility, not only in the coursework, the time frame, but in the resource that we have from the start of your journey to the end. And you mentioned the Harvard Innovation Labs. And Miriam, I was wondering if you could tell us a bit more about your experience, how working in the Harvard Innovation Lab helped you connect greater with the Harvard University community, and how it helped you, connect to what you're doing now after your degree.
Yeah, well, so the Harvard Innovation Lab opened for me after I graduated, because I missed this opportunity and I didn't learn about this on time. But it is, I cannot call it an accelerator or an incubator. It's just community which supports all entrepreneurs, students, all alumni coming from Harvard. What do they have is an extensive network of different experts. Over 100 people with whom you can literally book one-on-one meeting and ask them a lot of questions. That's how, for example, my business is in the pharma industry, and I literally knew nothing about pharma when I entered this business. I had an opportunity to talk to top specialists like from L. Lilly, asking them questions. Okay, guys, how does it work? How do clinical trials work there? Also, you have a lot of experts who can help you with a business model, with pitching, with finding right investors. And this is quite important, especially if you're starting a business in a new country, for example, because honestly, I knew nothing about doing business in the United States. It was very hard for me. And lastly, they do have amazing programs with lectures from the professors from Harvard Business School, which it's really hard to get access to this knowledge from them. And it's very detailed. It's not high level education at all. So they're really going into deep problems. So I don't know if someone here would like to go into Harvard Extension School and also make a business, I strongly suggest to contact Harvard Innovation Lab and apply.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Miriam. And I think you're hitting on a great point too, that there's so much learning and opportunity both within the classroom and within a Harvard Extension School course, but also, you know, myriad opportunities outside of the classroom as well. So Jose, I was wondering if you could speak more about if you have any experience with taking advantage of resources outside the classroom, making community connections outside the classroom, anything along those lines.
Basically, what I did, it's a lot of different connections with different professors and colleagues that used to work in the areas that were of interest to me. Because when I started the program, basically I was looking forward to make a career change. I used to be a reporter. My goal was to start working into an international organization like the United Nations. Now I work at the International Monetary Fund. So it was very good to have access to different Harvard professors that will guide me in terms of which classes will be appropriate to take in terms to meet my goal as a career advancement. And also a lot of colleagues that used to work in the World Bank, for example, or the United Nations, that were taking my same classes. And with that interactions and with grabbing a virtual coffee with them afterwards, they will guide me pretty much in terms of how to try to apply to those kind of jobs and how to manage my interviews and all that. So I think that, as I said at the beginning, and I will reiterate through all the webinar, I think that those personal relations are essential. And some people think that because some of the classes are virtual, those relationships don't exist, and they do. And I still in touch with most of my former colleagues at several classes.
Perfect, Jose. Thank you so much. And that leads me right into my next question perfectly for Dawn. Dawn, so a lot of our classes are taken online to, offer additional flexibility for students all over the world. Can you tell us about how you've been able to build a network through online courses, how you've been able to stay connected with professors if you have any questions while taking an online course?
Yeah, so I took advantage of the full breadth of flexibility and offerings, doing as many in-person courses as I could, but also synchronous and asynchronous online courses. And the system that the Extension School has for taking online courses is very mature. Harvard Extension has been doing this for a long time. You see a lot of institutions today rushing into this space because they saw an opportunity coming out of COVID. And the Extension School has really kind of worked out all of the aspects of how to make the online environment work, and you connect with other students in your class through group work, through things you do in the class, through part of the kind of active learning where you're working together and leading parts of the discussion, and then it's very natural for folks to then exchange contact information and to keep in touch as they progress in their career or continue to work and continue to learn after their experience at the school. And so it happens just very naturally as you build relationships with people. You're a little bit sad when the coursework is over, and I promise you have a little bit of sadness when you graduate, that you miss being that Harvard Extension student. And you stay connected with the folks that you've met just naturally. And I spent an hour on the phone yesterday with somebody that I took a class with several years ago, and I'm having lunch on Thursday with someone that I took a class with probably 4 or 5 years ago. They're like-minded people and people who like to learn, like to challenge themselves at the highest level, just gravitate to each other and stay connected.
Perfect. And I think that's so powerful, Dawn. And reiterating, I think everything we've heard from each student so far is this community, this connection afterwards. So thank you. Now, jumping gears a little bit, we have a couple questions coming in about our admissions policy. So Ashley, I have a couple of questions for you along the admissions line. Why are courses required prior to admissions? And after passing admissions courses, is admissions to the program guaranteed?
Yeah, thank you. These are great questions and ones we get a lot for our office. So every program requires a certain number of admissions courses that's listed on the degree requirements page. So that's one resource I always recommend students check. The reason why we have these courses are so that students can earn their way into the programs. They can take these courses, earn grades of B or higher, and show us that they have what it takes to succeed in the program later on. We have students that are joining us from many different backgrounds, different educational journeys that have led them here, but we have the same standardized admissions process for everyone. Regarding, kind of what the admissions process entails, we do have a admissions page on our website, the graduate program admissions page, which reviews this process step by step. And on there, you'll see that while the courses are a major component of the admissions process, there are also fundamental eligibility requirements and additional documentation required to apply for admission. And all of this is something we consider when we're reviewing applications. So it's important to keep in mind that it's not just the admissions courses, there are other factors as well. And definitely check out our website for that information.
Perfect. Thank you, Ashley. I think that clarified some things for a lot of our attendees here today. And kind of jumping to the complete opposite end of your HES degree, I want to talk a little bit more now about the capstone and thesis experience. So I wanted to ask Jose, how did you decide between, a capstone thesis experience? And if you could tell us a little bit more about that process.
Yeah, of course. Basically, I knew that I didn't want to pursue further education in terms of a PhD. So my understanding at the time is that if you go through the thesis part of the program, then it's easier in a way, or it's more you can if you want to continue with and study a PhD, that will be the perfect path to follow. In my case, I knew that I wanted to have more of a real cases experience with what I was doing in the program, and that's why I went through a capstone. The capstone, in my case, was a pre-capstone and a capstone. In one of the classes, we were focused more on individual work and an individual project. And then on the second one, we had a group project. So it was a very good experience also to work with other colleagues and other students in terms of research and selecting a topic and be able to complete that to fruition.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jose. And Miriam, am I correct in assuming that you did a thesis with us?
Yeah, I did a thesis.
Could you tell us about why you chose to do a thesis and what that thesis entailed? And lastly, how it prepared you for what you're doing now?
Well, there were two reasons why I decided to go for a thesis. First of all, I wanted to have an open opportunity to pursue academic career. I was thinking about applying to a PhD. So back to the Jose point, that was exactly the reason that I wanted to have experience of full research, like real one with a human subject, with a publication in the end. And I really needed to go for this. The second reason was that during classes, I identified one topic that's really bumped into me. I don't know. I just was so curious about that, and I really wanted to study that. And I used the thesis as an opportunity to answer my questions. So regarding the current career, how thesis helped me a lot. So we are a scientific company. And for example, today I got another publication, my own, when I'm a first author in neuroimage, which I could not imagine even like several years ago that I'll be publishing papers as the first author in neuroimage. But it helped me, it's like to build a whole lab inside my company to do all the research, but now with a large team of the people who are doing that. And I really needed this almost a year-long experience with everything from application to the IRB, for the going through all these approvals, up to designing the experiment, running this experiment. And I had like almost 200 subjects in my experience. So, and well, it was necessary, honestly, to be able to do it right now in industry.
Perfect, thank you. And Dr. Shoemaker, is there anything you would add when students are, considering thesis versus a capstone? Any advice for people who are already starting to think about that at these beginning stages of their journey?
So I think there are two components. One is your personal work style. So do you work independently without anybody prodding you along? Then a thesis is a reasonable fit. If structure is a better thing for you, and every week somebody's going to have you meet a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock and you've got something due, so if that fits you better, then the capstone is a good option. And then it really is about if you have a passion for a very specific topic and that doesn't align with one of the themes declared for one of our capstones, then the thesis is a better fit. Whereas the capstone, creates a community of people who are working on projects along a designated theme. Those are the key variables.
Perfect, thank you. And I heard from both Jose and Miriam and all of our students kind of throughout the questions in this Q&A how Harvard Extension School, has prepared them for their career afterwards. And so wanted to dive a bit deeper into that. So Dawn, I was wondering if you could talk a bit more about how the community, taking courses, Harvard Extension School in general, helped you prepare for your career, or how it had an impact on your career.
Sure. So I went back to school late in my career. So I started my journey when I was 55 and was in the final years of my professional career, my traditional professional career in the technology industry and in the banking industry. But concurrent with that, I had been a school board member for 15 years and very active in advocating for reform of the K-12 education system. And I knew that I wanted to retire professionally and spend more of my time writing, speaking, calling on politicians, advocating for reform of the K-12 system. And so the work I did at the Extension School helped me build, through my academic work, I focused it on what I was interested in and built a portfolio of papers that I had written, ideas that I had debated with other students, and forming a specific perspective on what needs to be done to reform the K-12 system. My capstone paper was on modernization of the charter school law in my home state of Oklahoma. And I've continued to work on that. So the Extension School was a mechanism for me to transition from a traditional earning professional career to being an advocate for change on a particular policy issue that I find to be very important these days. And the Extension School experience made that transition possible for me.
Perfect. And that's super powerful, Dawn. Thank you. Lupita, would you say that you had a similar experience? How did Harvard Extension School have an impact on your career? And that is to Lupita.
Again, I'm going to shut off my video just so it's a little bit more clear. Yeah, so in my experience, very much so, the Harvard Extension School gave me the tools and the necessary resources to not only switch careers, which I don't really find that I switched careers. I just find that I enhanced my career. And now I'm at the intersection of, I find myself in the intersection of wellness and tech, whereas before I had a wellness company that was merely focused on, just very not basic interventions, because I think all of wellness is very important for especially the corporate world. But now, as I am building my company, we're now a team of 4, and we're building an application and a platform that helps corporate employees really reduce and keep track of their stress. And I can go more into that at maybe a later time. But it's something that I never would have been able, I think, to do, or would have been a little bit more harder to do on my own with the resources that Harvard Extension School gave me, like the Innovation Lab and like access to professors in these industries that I didn't know of, like data science and tech, which now I find that.
Oh, Lupita, I think we might have lost you, but I appreciate everything you said up until that point. And thank you again for being here despite some Wi-Fi issues. And the last person I kind of like to ask this question to is Ian. I know that you're currently pursuing your degree. If you could talk a little bit about how you envision what you're doing now at Harvard Extension School helping you in the long term.
Sure. So I'm a change manager at LinkedIn. So an English degree is not exactly going to make me a master of the universe in Silicon Valley. But I have for years, ever since I was an undergrad, wanted to write a book, and I have just really struggled to come up with a formula for how I could do that, and not a novel, but really nonfiction. And a lot of my interests are in subjects around the history of the books, history of books, media studies. And so an English degree is really like the best avenue to get me able to like build a scholarly framework for a book, engage with the materials in a more sophisticated way, have more tools to interpret literature. And that is everything that I'm getting here. So this is really like a personal passion project for me. Maybe at the end of the day, I would be able to spin this into fulfilling that, like scratching that itch that I've had. Like unfinished business was something I heard of a panelist from alumni earlier, and I really feel like that's what this program is for me. And however, in my work life, I do find that engaging with like scholarly discourse has made me a better writer, a more strategic thinker. It's made me more particular with data analysis. It's made me more specific at work. So I have found that I've had a lot of benefits that I wasn't even planning on in my professional life.
Perfect. Thank you. And it's great to hear that, there's short-term benefits you're already seeing. And then hearing from some of our other panelists, it lasts way beyond, taking courses at Harvard Extension School. So great to see, both short-term and long-term benefits. So just a few more questions here, and then we're going to wrap it up. My next question is for Daniel. And I know Ian kind of hit on this a little bit earlier, but a few people in the chat were asking, are the online courses time slot bound? Say, for example, we need to attend a session at a specific time every day. For working professionals, this sometimes can be difficult. How have you advised students kind of working around this?
Sure, great question. First of all, one of the things that the Extension School does pride itself on is the flexibility of not only the programs, but also the courses. I think you'll find that a lot of them are offered in the evening so that students can attend after they get off of work. Now, we're also conscious of, time zone issues as well. So we try to plan around that. We also have asynchronous offerings so that students can attend live, but at the same time, if they, if they're not able to do that, they can also then, view the lectures after the class has ended and participate in that way.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Daniel. And now it's time for our last question. And that will be, why should someone join our Harvard Extension School community? We've heard a lot of great reasons. And just to reaffirm those, Ashley, if you could start off with a few sentences, why someone should join us.
I think we offer a really top-notch education between the just depth and level of knowledge our faculty bring, as well as our students. And I think also, as Daniel pointed out, we offer a lot of support, a lot of resources, and a lot of flexibility for students that are seeking additional education.
Perfect. Thank you. Miriam, how about you? What's so powerful about the Harvard Extension School community?
It's life-changing experience. This is the most powerful thing. It changes how you think, changes how you work, what you know, what people you're connected to. It's like, if you would like to level up, I think this is one of the best ways to do that.
Perfect. I love that phrase, level up. So hear that, everyone, level up at Harvard Extension School. All right, Jose, what about you?
I think I cannot update that, but it's I think that the network and the personal connections, those are the things that on top of a top-notch academic opportunity, I think that the relations with other colleagues and professors are the main reasons to join.
Perfect. Thank you. Lupita? Oh, I think we might not be able to hear you again, but if you wanna type your answer in the chat to everyone, feel free, and thank you again for being here.
Oh, people who really, really want you to succeed, they're really not just telling you that. I mean, I still have advisors that startup is doing. I have mentors from the I mean, it's people who are really trying to lift you up, and I've never felt like that anywhere.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'm glad we were able to hear you in the end. Ian, if you could tell us about what makes the Harvard Extension School community so powerful.
Well, I would say, I think I have to second everyone else, just to have your mind challenged and expanded. It's also, on a more crass level, it's just great to walk Harvard campus, to go into the library, sit down and work like you are a Harvard student, and you have access to everything that like a traditional Harvard college student would have.
Yeah, and I don't think it's crass at all. I think it's super powerful. And one of the reasons why I think a lot of people join us, come to commencement in Harvard Yard, sit there amongst all the other Harvard schools, hear the speaker, get your diploma. Definitely walking in the steps of history is a big selling point for, being part of the Harvard Extension School community. So thank you, Ian. Daniel, if you could tell us really briefly about why someone should join us here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think number one, if you have a passion for learning, if you have a passion for lifelong learning, this is definitely a place for you to be. But I would also sense, stress that we do, even though it is considered on a lot of levels of distance education, at the same time, we do our best to foster a real sense of community for folks. And we pride ourselves on the support that we give to the students while they're here. So.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you for all you do for our community, Daniel. And Dawn, how about you? Why should someone join our community?
Well, I would say two things. First of all, the best investment that you can make throughout the course of your life, regardless of what phase you are in, is an investment in yourself, an investment in your own learning, in your own skills, in your own knowledge. That's number one. Two, the brand opens doors. And so I, earlier this year, went to a program on public choice at George Mason University. I applied for a spot in a summer program on public policy at Stanford, where they had 1,100 applicants and took less than 100 attendees. I've applied for a spot in the fall, which I should hear any day now, in a program run out of Notre Dame. The Harvard brand opens those doors for me. I would not have been competitive to get that spot at Stanford, and I'm trolling the Harvard folks by wearing my Stanford t-shirt today. And I would not have been competitive for the spot at the George Mason University if it weren't for the Harvard brand. So the brand stays with you and it opens other doors.
Perfect. Thank you, Dawn. And last but not least, Dr. Shoemaker. And I'd like to say, Dr. Shoemaker, also, you have a couple fans in the chat who, in addition to wanting to know why Harvard Extension School, they're asking if you're going to be teaching any courses in the future.
Yes, I teach that's good to know. I teach a pro seminar, a humanities pro seminar every year. I teach a social sciences pro seminar every year. I teach a capstone for history, religion, and government students each year. So I do have a number of courses where I'm available. And in terms of summing up, I think what's been said today and the appeal of our program, I'll say this. The Extension School is not just Harvard in name, it's Harvard in quality. And that's what we pride ourselves in.
Perfect, Dr. Shoemaker. Thank you. And I think that's a great way to end our session. Thank you all again for your insight and sharing your stories on this panel. And thank you to all of you for joining us today and asking such thoughtful questions. If we weren't able to get to your question or more arise, please contact us at inquiry@extension.harvard.edu or call us at 617-495-4024. Make sure to also follow us on social media to stay updated on deadlines, hear student testimonials, and learn more about our offerings. We also wanted to remind you of a few key dates that are listed here on the screen. The spring term full payment deadline is January 4th. January 2nd is the January session course registration deadline. And January 18th is the spring term course registration deadline. Lastly, we want to remind you all again that a recording of today's webinar will be sent to the email you used to register. You'll also be able to find it on our webpage and the Harvard Extension School YouTube within a week. And we want to thank you all so much again for spending your lunch hour with us today, or wherever you are in the world. It might be nighttime. And we hope to see you in class soon and join our community. Thank you all so much. I'll give a few seconds. I think a couple of our panelists wanted to drop their contact information in the chat. So I'll let the webinar stay open for another minute if anyone wants to drop a link in the chat. But thank you all so much again for being here, and hope to see you soon.